guys, welcome back to my channel, and this is Wigs for Life, where we celebrate all things beauty. Now today I have a rant, and I don't do this much on my channel, but let me just set my chair back a bit because I have to get this off my chest, okay? So I was in Curry's earlier, and Curry's in this country is a department store that sells electrical items and such, from things as small as cameras, sat navs, to refrigerators, washing machines, etc. So I walk up to the aisle for the product I needed to purchase. And in the aisle was one other lady who was Caucasian. And we were both looking at the same product and then stood waiting for somebody to come over and help us. So when we waited she probably was waiting a little bit longer. I waited about 5 minutes or so. Nobody came over, so I went to the till and indicated the need for help. The gentleman tells me to that he will send somebody over. So I go back to the aisle while still keeping my eye on him to see who he would, what direction the person would be coming from, etc. Saw him motion to somebody who was probably behind me to come over and help. Gentleman walks over and walks to the Caucasian lady. Didn't come in the aisle and say, "Hello ladies, can I help?" At which point, to be honest, at which point I would have said, "Well, you can help her first," because she was obviously there before me. No, walks straight over to her and helps. Okay, at that point I thought, okay, fine. She was here before me. Okay, fine. Gentleman at the till sees that this happens and calls somebody else over. At which point, whilst this person was coming, who was also behind, gentleman one goes off to fetch the key so he can get the product out of the cabinet. Gentleman two walks over and walks straight past me to the lady beside me. "Hello, madam, can I help you?" And I'm thinking, okay, am I invisible, or I don't understand what is going on here. And she said, "Oh no, I'm fine, I'm being helped. Perhaps you might want to help this lady who's also waiting." "Oh, hello, madam," he says. And at which point I said, well, it's to her, suggestion, being sarcastic, not to her, but to him, that apparently I don't need help. A comment which he ignores, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to get on and get what I need and leave. So I asked him for what I wanted, by which point gentleman one comes back over, opens the cabinet, proceeds to give the lady the same product that I'd come to purchase. She takes hers, and he says to the guy, "Well, you can help her get one out as well." Takes one out, hands it to his gentleman number two, and he hands it to me. And I said, "Well, excellent. So is there anything else you want to tell me about?" The way Curry's work is, when the person comes over to help you, they'll say, well, you could upgrade to such and such a thing. You could do that. This is how Curry's work. No, none of that. Here, there you go. Jog on. So I had to ask a few questions about the product, which he answered. And then I said, okay, fine. I go to walk off with the product to the till, and he said, "Oh no, I'll take it over to the till and do it for you." Fine. Goes over to the till, at which point he now says, "Oh, if you wanted to buy a 3-year product guarantee." And I'm like, at this point, I want nothing from you. Nothing. If I had other options, this product that I came to buy from you today, I wouldn't even bother buying it. Okay, so don't even start talking about guarantees and because you want me to spend more money. So I declined and I paid for my product. And then I looked over to the gentleman who originally I went to get some help from. And I said, can I have a quick word? And he said, yes. And I said, well, I explained obviously he could see what was happening because he sent somebody else over to me. And I said, I think it was absolutely disgusting that these two gentlemen at separate times walked into an aisle with two waiting customers. We were both obviously waiting for somebody to help. And they didn't come into the aisle and say, can I help? As a general question, meaning first person to say, yes, I was here first, gets helped. No, they assumed I, the black woman, was not buying anything or was standing there looking pretty or was standing there like invisible. They went straight to her. And whilst I could excuse the first gentleman doing that, there is no way I can excuse the second gentleman walking past me to the lady in the aisle. I mean, when I was obviously waiting, if you have two obviously waiting customers, how do you do that? How do you reconcile that? I mean, and I hope Currys get to see this rant. I was absolutely disgusted that in 2016, I am still having to suffer some form of discrimination. And the only difference between myself and the other customer, because we are both women, okay, was our skin color, okay? That was the only difference. I mean, I don't know how much older she was, but it wasn't an age thing. She wasn't that much older, as in elderly. So it's not as if you're saying you want to help the elderly customer first. So we're both able-bodied women. You don't know my age. You don't know her age. For all he knows, we could be the same flaming age. Okay, so it's not an age issue and it's not a sex issue. So what issue is it? I've obviously called the head office because I am raging mad and complained, but I just wanted to put this out there that why in this day and age we're still having to have some sort of discrimination. What for? What for? Where in God's great earth do anybody think they are better than the other man because of the color of one's skin? I mean, why is this still happening? And people think that in the great UK, this doesn't happen anymore. But it does. And it happens in subtle ways. It's not like in America where the police are openly lynching people, okay? It's in subtle ways, little things that people say. Like in sometimes people might now look at this video and say, well, she's an angry black woman. Well, why won't I be angry? You tell me. Why shouldn't I be angry? Why? Should I just sit back and let other races walk all over me? What example is it that I am setting for my children? When I was growing up, I thank my parents every day. Growing up in the Caribbean, I grew up with people who were white, who were Indian, who were Chinese, and who were black. Jamaica is a very multicultural country, okay? They say, oh, England is you're not multicultural. Stop going on as if it's a multicultural society here. It's not. The only place that's probably truly multicultural is London. It's the only multicultural place in this whole UK. And I never... When I read about slavery, when I read about discrimination, when I watched movies about discrimination, it was sometimes obviously part of all our history, but it was so far removed because I've never experienced it one-on-one before. But, you know, coming back to this place, and then you experience it in little droves, in little drops here and there, And I'm thinking, why should my children in 2016, now, speaking of my children were called nigger in school, okay? The word nigger was used to one of my children, well, both of them in school. Why should, and the principal wanted to pass this off as, oh, I'm so sorry, I understand. I'm like, no, you don't understand, and you will never understand what it then meant at that point. My children got all the way to high school before I had to explain where that word comes from. Why should I have to explain where that word comes from and why was it used to my child in 2016? If I want to teach my child Black history, and to be honest, it's not Black history, it's everybody's history, because it's the perpetrator's history. It's all our histories. Why should I have to explain it in that way? Why can't they learn history in school in its whole entirety? Now they're growing up in England and they learn about the Middle Ages and they learn about the kings and they learn about this. Well, what about the bit that you missed out? The bit that actually helped to make Great Britain great? What about slavery? You made money from slavery to this day. You made loads of money from the Commonwealth. Yet you choose 1 month, Black History Month, which is February. And out of that whole month, I can probably count the days that my children have anything discussed about that part of the history of this country. Because like it or not, believe it or not, this is all our history. And I refuse to accept that in this day and age, I still have to I won't even say accept, because I will never accept it. But I still have to have this issue. I still have to talk about this and be angered by it in this day and age. Why? I hope Courage sees this. Please share and like this video if you agree. Comment down below if in 2016 you still experience some form of discrimination based on the color of your skin. That's my rant over for today, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye.